boy, you can't put $100 bills into clenched fists. This is what Pops would say to me all the time. He would have me clench up my fist. I knew exactly what he was doing because he would say it all the time. But he would say, like, clench your fist like this, boy. And then I would clench my fist up, and he would be like, how many $100 bills can you fit into your clenched fist? And I would be like, none. He said, yeah, you got to open your hands and release what you're holding on to be able to accept what's coming to you. And it's incredible because throughout my whole entire life, I had the tendency to hold on to things. I would do it. I would get my education. I'd hold on to it. And then when I got to a point where I started to understand what my pops was actually meaning by what he was saying, I started to release things. And when I released it, when I learned something and I released it to somebody else, then I had my hands open to be able to accept the next thing that was coming. And generally the next thing that was coming was way better than the thing that I was holding on to. So my question today is, what are you holding on to in your clenched fist that's stopping those $100 bills or those $1,000 checks or those $1 million business ideas from being accepted in your life? We're going to go through this in Proverbs 17, and it's unreal what God reveals through this 3,000-year-old wisdom that's applicable today on Inchstones. So let's get this party started.
Nothing more on my mind. I got two shines, so every day I grind. Work in the morning, work in the evening. We's achieving, cause we believing. It's for certain, we put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting. Right before your eyes, so it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised. Over and over and over again. Make no mistake, we continue to win. Defeat never known, cause I will not lose. They wanna mimic my moves, but can't walk in my shoes.
I think the Queen Bee has entered the building too, by the way. I saw a comment from her on the last podcast, and that Queen Bee is my wife, Brooklyn, and I want to tell you that I love you more than anything, and it means the world that you would tune in. So she has been working her tail off, and she's the hardest working woman in showbiz, probably one of the most sought after wedding hairdressers in the world. So if you are having a wedding and your wife, or if it's you getting married and you're going to be the bride, or you're getting married and your wife needs to feel like the greatest thing in the world, Kelly Cardenas is the only answer. There's actually a link for her. She's the executive producer of the show. And so I just wanted to give a huge shout out to her. Make sure that you guys check out the book too. If you don't have it, it's The Vibe on Amazon. You click the link in the bio. You'll be able to get that. And then the last thing is the Bling Shine Serum. It adds moisture, strength, and shine, and it smells like vacation. Every woman needs a little bling in their life. Well, I told you that was the last bit of station identification, but it's not. The Vibe Room is happening November 9th. If you want to check that out, it's going to be unreal. Tickets are almost sold out. It's at the Edison House in Salt Lake City, and it's a live version of the pod. It's going to be unreal. Janae Thompson, Keith Hale, and Baron Baptiste. The lineup is unbelievable, but also the people in the room are even better. So I can't wait to be able to share them with you. Let's hop right into Proverbs 17. And my pops would always say this about the clenched fist thing, and I found that there's so many times where I have clenched fists in my life where I'll grab onto something, I'll hold on to it so tight, and I'll say, like, I've got to hold on to this. And what I'm finding is that I block blessing a lot. And if you've ever done this, I want to encourage you, because you're not alone. But sometimes we'll have the tendency to hold on to something so tight because we think that, I can't get rid of this thing, when God is saying, I just need you to release it. I need you to let it go. And when you let it go, then I'll deliver something even better. And because I got something for you, but I can't give it to you if you're just holding on to what you have right now. So in Proverbs 17, it asks us to release everything in exchange for his best. This sounds great in theory, although it's tough to apply. If you want to walk light and free, we must be open to receive the blessings that are coming. And that requires us to let go. And so in Proverbs 17, 3,000-year-old wisdom, it's amazing because God wrote, this was inspired word 3,000 years ago, but it applies in today, right now, in relationships, in your business, and all those aspects. And it sounds so simple when we hear it, but it's probably one of the hardest things to be able to apply, is just letting go. And as my wife listens to this, because she knows that it's hard for me to let go of things, because I'll just lock onto them and then I just go until I get the thing. And then when I get the thing, I'm like, it's not as good as the process or as me going through it. But sometimes I need to just let it go. And she's probably one of the best at this. So here we go in verse 1, 2, 12, and 26. Peace is invaluable and will create unbelievable increase. My wife, Brooklyn, is probably the greatest example of this because when I look at her, she's constantly always peaceful and she's just sitting in the moment. She's joyful all the time. And it doesn't mean that she doesn't get stressed. It doesn't mean that she doesn't get tired. It doesn't mean that she doesn't work harder than anyone that I've ever seen in my entire life. But it means that she's joyful in that time, meaning that she's fallen in love with her current circumstances and she just allows the things to happen around her. And that peace is invaluable and will create unbelievable increase. And I watched the increase happen in her life. All the things that she said 4 years ago that she wanted to do, she's doing right now. And it's incredible that way. So I just encourage you, look at her, Brooklyn Cardenas. She's not going to like that I say that, but check her out on Instagram, check her out on TikTok, check her out on all those channels, because honestly, she is an example of peace. And in verse 2 and 14, thought of the future surpasses qualifications. This one hit me hard because if you think of the future, meaning that we search out wisdom, that we're looking to have prudence in our life, which is thought of the future, it surpasses qualifications and will let you in rooms that you aren't qualified for and get you positions and get you things that you don't have the backing to be able to have in the first place. And some people call this out of the blue, or, well, obviously I really got blessed in this. But what God is saying here is that if you will simply take thought of the future, meaning that if you take thought of the future, then you'll praise me now and you'll choose me now. And if you choose him, what'll happen is over time, when you simply choose him as opposed to what you think is right at that particular time, what will happen is he'll continue to put you in places where you won't even have to be qualified for it. You won't be qualified for it. He'll bring you into that room. He'll bring you around the people. He'll bring the people into your life to be able to bless that way. And so we just want to encourage you in those things. In verse 3, 8, 11, and 13 is people see your heart, so work on it and guard it at all costs. The overflow of your words, or the overflow of your heart and your words become your actions. Let me read it again for you because I stuttered on that one. Is people see your heart, so work on it. Guard your heart at all costs. The overflow is your words, and your words become your actions. So think of this, is people will always see your heart. They'll see your heart before they see your actions. So even if you have the greatest actions in the world, but you do them from a heart of like, I'm trying to take advantage of people, people will see that all the time. They'll see it in business. They'll see it in relationships. They see it in all aspects. So just guard your heart. Like, guard your heart and fill your heart up with the things that are awesome, right? And so that's why we read the corresponding proverb for the corresponding day, because there's nothing bad that will come of this. Now, there's some things that I won't use every single day, but it's always good, right? And so fill up and work on your heart at all costs and guard it. The overflow of your heart is your words, and your words will ultimately become your actions. And when people see your actions and your heart, and when they're in line, meaning that your heart set, your mindset, and your skill set, when they're in line, it creates an irresistible vibe that nobody can even come in contact or competition with. And so in verse 3, 8, 11, and 13, it emphasizes this. In verse 4 and 19 is don't listen to silly people. This is something that I think of my mom, or I even think of my buddy's mom, which was Mrs. Simmons. And Mrs. Simmons was like my mom. She was my second mom. And she would just say this all the time, like, don't surround yourself with silly people. Don't listen to silly people. You surround yourself with silly people, you start listening to them. So don't listen to silly people. And because they'll always get you into a trick. In verse 5, it talks about generosity increases. So that sounds crazy. When I give, then it increases all the things that I'll do. But we just want to encourage you in that generosity will always, always, always increase every single thing in your life. So be as generous as you possibly can in every single thing that you do. In verse 6, 18, and 24 is think of the future and love the moment. This is what my wife is the example of this. Brooklyn is the example of this. So she calls it stick to the plan, but go with the flow. So we got to have a plan. We got to have something to focus on. And I found this out with my daughter, and with her birthday coming up and the gift that I wanted to make sure that she got. I focused on that. But we also got to stay in the moment. So it's very tough on this to have this overarching plan, or to have a plan, but to stay in the moment. And that's an art form. It's to understand that the plan that you have most likely isn't going to turn out exactly the way that you want it to. So go with the flow and stay in the moment. And if you could do that, it's amazing what can happen. And that's in verse 6, 18, and 24. In verse 7, 20, and 22 of Proverbs 17, its words are a byproduct of what you allow into your heart. Think of that one. Your words are a byproduct of what you allow into your heart. So just be conscious of what you allow into your heart. How does it get into your heart? From what you see, what you hear, and what you become aware of through your senses. So don't listen to silly people. You won't listen to silly people if you aren't around silly people. So these are all things that are making sure that we guard our heart at the highest level, because your words are a byproduct of what you allow into your heart. In verse 9, 10, 15, 17, 21, and 25, this is very important, as leading with love will give you clear vision. And I fail at this a lot, because generally when someone wrongs me, then I want to justify why I should do something that's not out of love. But when I lead with love, it'll give me clear vision. And what I would invite you to do is just to think of this. How can you fill up? How can you read? How can you read and listen to things that fill you up with love? And when that love is there, it'll give you clear vision as you move forward. In verse 16 and 23 is you cannot buy wisdom. No matter how much you make, no matter what you do, no matter how successful you become, as far as financially, you can't buy wisdom. The only way that you can get wisdom is by fearing God. And fearing God is just respecting him, which means that you spend time with him, see his words and his actions. They're in line. And when that happens, then you have respect for him, which is the beginning of wisdom. It's the only way to get wisdom. It's the right use of knowledge. Why is it so important to have? Because you shouldn't get knowledge unless you know how to use it. And so this is crazy. It's like you can't buy it. It's just like you can't buy game. You can't buy coolness. You can't buy the things that are the most valuable. You can't. You could try. I've tried it, but you can't. And so you can't buy wisdom. In verse 16 and 23, it just reiterates that. And as we close up is verse 20 and 27, 28 is listen, assess, seek wise counsel, write it down, read it, and then respond. So watch this. Most of us respond, and then if we ever read about it, it's later on. We generally seldom write it down. We generally seldom seek wise counsel, assess it, and then and most of the time it's because we ain't listening. But watch this process. And I know if my wife is listening, she's going to hold me accountable to this when I fly off the handle, like I do a lot of times, is listen, assess, seek wise counsel, write it down, read it, and then, and only then, respond. And this is a very tough thing, because imagine this. Imagine the clenched fist thing. Oh, I got it locked in. I got the $100 bills. I'm holding on to them tight, and I don't want to release it. Imagine if we just listened. We listened to wisdom. We assessed it. We sought out wise counsel. We wrote that down. We read about it. And then we responded afterwards to say, like, okay, I will. I'll release these clenched fists. See, our job is simple. And it's to release whatever is in our hands or on our shoulders and walk light, free, and open to receive blessings, because, boy, you can't fit $100 bills into clenched fists. So if you aren't coming to the Vibe Room, if you haven't set it up, go ahead and get the tickets now. I tell you, I was saying once we released them that they would be sold out. They're almost sold out now. So I look forward to being able to see you. I want to thank every one of you for tuning in, for commenting, for subscribing. Make sure if you're listening on Spotify that you hit the follow button. It means a lot. We're listener supported, and I want to tell you I appreciate that. Check out the book. Check out Bling. And thank you again for tuning in. My name is Kelly Cardenas, and I'm officially off the hot seat. Peace, love, and soul.
Nothing more on my mind. I got 2 shines, so every day I grind. Work in the morning, work under no surprise.